What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of If There's a Will, There's a Wave. If you follow along with the series, welcome back, and if you're new, welcome aboard. We're restoring this 1973 32-foot Lohr's Flybridge Sport Fisher that's been sitting for what's seemingly more than 2 years.
It's tend to get worse the further down you go.
In this episode, we finish the house battery shutoff installation and go over the whole wiring setup. Get your notebooks out, and let's get into it. We got a shutoff for these two. Got a shutoff for these two. Now we need one for this guy. Okay? I've seen a couple instances where people will, put it on one of these boxes. I just don't know if that makes all that much sense unless it's gonna go right here. So if there's a spot for me to do it, then I'll do it. We'll see how it goes. Okay, status update. I didn't really record any of this. I feel that you guys kind of already got the idea of when I did the shutoff switches for these guys. So the way that I arranged this setup for the house battery, so this is the main positive line for the house, right? And it was originally coming in and plugging to the positive pole here, and then obviously there was a negative line, which is this guy here, right? So what I did is I basically cut the line and I put a shutoff in line with that positive, right? So instead of it going directly to the positive pole, it's actually going to connect to this shutoff switch, and then from the shutoff switch, it's going to connect back to this pole. And as you can see, I actually just put the switch directly onto the weatherproof enclosure, the plastic enclosure. I had to Dremel out a notch so that I can get these poles in and, get everything nice and flush. And it's just held together with these two screws on the bottom. The cool thing is that when it's not in use, it has this little cover to protect the connections on the inside. And it's got two of these keys, one of them with like a little dust cover, and then another that's a little bit slimmer that you can attach to your key set if you want to. All right, so there's the setup. This blue and this yellow line, this is gonna be for my voltmeter, so I can check the voltage on this battery and know what it's at all times. This is our main negative, right? And this is our main positive. So this line goes down here and just does a little loop and comes around and connects here to our shutoff. So these two are disconnected as long as there's no key in there and that key is not turned. These two are disconnected. So at the moment, this battery is not connected to the boat. From this point, this line now just connects right back into the rest of the original house positive line. It's literally that simple. Let's go ahead and pop this dust cap off. We'll put the key in, give it a turn. Simple as that. We're live. We're back live. So she's looking a lot cleaner, a lot crisper. Just need to throw some zip ties on these guys. I ran out, but this will be nice and tight. Take a look. Pop that out. Now we're good. That's we're winterized officially. California winterized. Leave that on. Cool. Not bad, guys. Not bad. Okay, so I'm gonna try to explain this the best I can. That way you guys can kind of get a visual and an idea of what I'm talking about here. So if we start over here on the starboard battery, right, there is a line that runs all the way over here and it comes right here. This is the positive, okay? Positive comes into this switch, which it touches this pole right here, okay? And when this switch is off, none of these other poles are in contact with this, right? So this is positive, this is live, but it's not touching anything here. This is an input, this is an input, and this is an output, right? You see this little thing right here? This is the output, and these are inputs. This is 1, this is 2, output. When it's off, this is not touching this. When I flick this to 1, this is now in contact with the output, and the output in this case being the starboard engine, okay? Going to the solenoid and all that business over there, okay? But that's the output, okay? On this one, this is the input number 2, right? And input number 2 comes over to this side. I'll explain what happens there because it's the same on both sides. Now, if you look over here on the positive, remember when I said that this is the positive battery, right? This is 12 volts. This is always live, okay? This is that voltmeter, right? This is the lead for the voltmeter. And this is new, so I added this. So now this is a constantly 12 volt line based on the extension of this battery, positive line for the starboard battery, right? That goes behind this little wooden panel and then connects right into here, okay, onto number 2, right? I can flip it over into 2 and I can actually use the starboard side batteries to start the port side engine, okay? Following me? So I have the option to either be on this battery for this side or the port side battery, and vice versa. So, I think that instead of me trying to explain to you guys how I was doing it with the camera, like, you know, like pointing at this wire and pointing at this wire, I think that the best way for me to do this is to actually drawing out the wiring diagram, very crude, okay? That way I can keep it so that it's understandable and you guys can kind of reference, okay, that goes there and this, you know, and it's just there the whole time. Let's just get into it. You can see what we're gonna do. Haven't used this program before. Okay, there's your colors, there's that. Cool, 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 cool. All right, so we're gonna start with white. Okay. We are gonna start with white being the, I don't need to draw the engine. I'm gonna draw, okay, yes I do. Okay, so here is the engine. That's engine 1. This is the port. Port side engine, okay? And then on this side, we're gonna put the starboard, okay? Starboard, star. Period. Okay, starboard side. So each one of these engines, okay, both the port and the starboard side have their own dedicated battery system, okay? Each engine has 2 batteries, 2 12-volt batteries, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and draw those in. I'll make them yellow, why not? And this is 2 batteries, 12 volt, okay? Same thing on this side. Okay, so you got 2 batteries. So these 2 are married to each other, meaning that this is 12 volts, this is 12 volts, 12 volt, 12 volt. Okay? But since they are in parallel, okay, not in series, since they're in parallel, they're reading the exact same voltage. It basically just expands the amount of battery capacity that it has, okay? So rather than you putting 2 12 volts together and you get 24 volts, which is what happens if you put it in series. Another video, look that up on YouTube. That's what happens if you put it in series. In parallel, it stays 12 volts, but you expand the capacity. Third part is the house battery, okay? That's what I normally am stepping on or sitting on when I'm inside the engine bay. That's the house battery, okay? So this is also 12 volts. So now we have all the batteries here. You know which ones that they go to. 12 volt, the house battery, the one in green right here, okay? This guy, that's the one that powers the majority of the stuff going on in the cabin. It should be handling the lights. It should be handling the inverter, which it is, and all that stuff. I say should be because there's some funky stuff going on, which we'll go over in a future episode. But moving along, pushing forward. Whoa, you lost me. Pushing forward. Now, the point of this diagram is to explain to you guys how everything was wired, okay? Because you know, you saw that I installed new switches. Now let's start drawing this out. So remember, the switches that we got, they have 4 different positions that they can be on. It could be off, it could be on the first battery bank, it could be on the second battery bank, or it could be on both 1 and 2, okay? I'm gonna draw the positive lines coming from these batteries in red, okay? So we've got a positive line that comes around in the engine bay and it meets into the shutoff switch that we added, okay? This is the 4-function, 4-position shutoff switch that we added, okay? The way that it's numbered is that you've got 1 right here, you got 2 right here, and you got 1 plus 2 up top, and you got off on the bottom, okay? So on the port side, that 12 volt battery bank for the engine comes into the shutoff switch and it connects onto 1, okay? On the back of these switches, there's gonna be 3 posts where you can attach the wires to, okay? And then there's gonna be a little separation like this. If you guys are doing the same type of installation, wherever you see this type of U, that separation, that little barrier, that means that everything behind that barrier, that is your output, okay? There's a terminal post for battery bank 1 and a terminal post for battery bank 2, okay? And then this last one here is the output, okay? This is where whatever is coming in on this side, 12 volt here, 12 volt here, that's where it allows it to pass through. It is from this output that a positive line connects back to the engine, and that is what supplies power to the engine once you turn the switch to 1, 2, or whatever, okay? Are we on the same page? We understand what's going on? Starting on the port side engine, okay? 12 volt battery bank, and it's going through, going along, and it goes into the shutoff on number 1, okay? And say we turn the switch to number 1, okay? Now we're on this one. This is what we're talking about, right? So this line, if you can imagine, okay, same line, I'm going to draw it right here. It connects right here, okay? This is getting so complicated. So the battery connects to right here, this one post, and as soon as I turn this switch on to 1, now this output allows this 2 to connect, and this pass-through goes through. Okay, does that make sense? I hope it does. Same idea, same thing going on the starboard side. Okay, the only thing, if you can imagine, the orientation of these switches are the same. So the only difference is that instead of the battery bank coming in on 1, right, it's coming in on 2. So when we flip the switch from being at off to 2, right, now 2 can now pass through into the starboard engine. Cool? That's the easy part. Now that we kind of understand that there's a 1, a 2, and an output, and you can select whether you want 1, 2, or both of those together, now let's explain when and why we would use those situations. Why did I even get this switch? So let's do that. So in efforts to try to make this a little bit easier to understand and grasp, I'm going to go ahead and call each of the additional battery ports, the ones that we haven't used. So for instance, on the starboard side, it's number 1, and on the port side, it's number 2. I'm going to call these guys the auxiliary battery banks. Okay, battery, I don't need to draw that out, you heard me say it. So it's the auxiliary battery banks. Okay, so that circle is going to be on 1 now, so sorry. Yeah, it only gives you like 3 undos. That sucks, dude. Sorry, it's my first time using this. So in this case, 1 is actually going to go ahead and connect and tie in to 1 on this side. Okay, now if you're following me, when it's on the off position, when this switch is here, none of these connections are in contact with whatever they're trying to connect to. Okay, even if the port side battery switch was on and using this engine, right, since this switch was not connected to 1, then there is no contact. It does not matter. It's basically as if that wire was non-existent. As long as this switch is not on 1, this is what it sees. Okay, in reality, there is a wire that's running to the port side engine and connecting to the same terminal that the port side battery connects to the switch. Okay, what that means is that this is a live wire, connects to 1. Now 1 is live with 12 volts. Okay, flip this switch on to 1. Okay, the port side engine is now getting powered from the port side batteries, right? Now watch this. So if this switch was off, say this thing is completely off, okay, and I come over to the starboard battery and I flip it over to 2 so that I could use the starboard batteries to start it, right? And say that for whatever reason, these batteries are dead. I'm not getting any charge, I'm not getting any clicks, nothing, right? But I just tested the port side engine and I was able to run it. The batteries are fine and they're going, right? What this now allows me to do, I can now, as simple as a flip of a switch, I can now bring this switch over from 2. We'll go ahead and flip it over to 1, right? Now because this 1 on the starboard side is connected to the 1 on the port side, which is also connected to the port side battery, I'm now able to start the starboard engines using the port side batteries. Okay, and same idea, I did the exact same thing with the port side. Number 2, I got a wire that runs all the way over to 2, so that if, you know, in the case of an emergency, if I need to, you know, use the other battery to try to start it, or whatever it may be, I can do that. Or we can go ahead and put 1 and 2 together, making one giant 12-volt battery for the 2 engines. And that is really not something that you want to do as a normal thing. That is just in the case of an emergency. You know, we need a little bit extra juice, a little bit extra battery to start the engines or whatever it may be. So that's basically what we did. Do you guys understand what's going on? I hope you do. Just rewind it a couple times and you'll understand what's going on. Okay, and finally, all we did with the house battery, there was originally a positive line that came from the bottom of the boat, right, and it connected to that giant battery. And all we did is that we just came over here and we cut it. We added an inline switch, so instead of it having an off, on, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's literally just on or off. There's a key. When the key's in there and turned, it's on. When the key's not there, it's off. Okay, that's all that is, and it's just, you know, a little switch that goes right here, on and off. Okay, so that's basically the setup. I really hope that kind of makes sense. If you guys have any questions, just go ahead and comment down below. I get back to everyone who comments. Yeah, so this is definitely going to be the next step towards getting the boat modernized and ready for sea, and also for whatever additional 12-volt things that we're going to add in the future. So, and that should end this 12-volt upgrade, and possibly the episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, liking, and commenting. Stay tuned for the next episode, guys. We got a lot going on now. It's gonna be like full push ahead. We got the first engine ordered, and the second one will be coming in soon, at least ordered soon. So yeah, we're already there. It's the new year. So love you guys. I love you. I will see you soon. That's it. Hey Cleo, help me out with this outro. See you next week. Thank you. Cutie. That's gonna do it for this episode. If you stuck around this long, be sure to drop a comment down below so I can thank you personally. See you guys next week.